Good morning. I was just listening in to your conversations. That's all. Gary, good morning. How you doing? It doesn't matter. I'm doing okay. Doesn't matter. So, fellas, hopefully, we're like rocking and rolling. We're ready to go. Things are happening while you're there at test, meaning you're getting stronger. You're getting a little bit faster. Hopefully, getting a little bit smarter. So today, I really wanted to, for those of you who are technically new to me, just make sure that if you are new to me, that you're going back and taking a look at the videos that are put into the classroom. I was out of our country this past weekend ish, and so I'll be putting a couple of things in there today, actually, for you all. And so one of the things that I wanted to make sure that we're touching base on today is how do we go about accomplishing some of the goals that we are setting for ourselves in a way that we can actually accomplish them. We should be looking, I call it backwards planning now, and really thinking through if you have a pro day, if you're going to combine, whatever your, I call it showtime is, and really starting to, at this moment, looking at where I am right now, where I really want to go, and kind of start backwards planning a little bit. And I'm going to use today as an opportunity to kind of explain a little bit of that, kind of prepare us for my time that I will be with you all next week. I'll be in person actually with you all next week. Yes. Um, and so I want to just kind of make sure that you guys are kind of set up appropriately for that time. Um, we have Otto coming back, I believe, next week as well, and so we want to kind of make sure that we're angling ourselves toward you achieving the things that you've set for yourself. So one of the things we had talked about last week was this motivation and where motivation comes from. There was a particular arrow slide that was used in the talk that we had, and just to kind of walk through that so that people could understand, the details of that. This is what you saw last week. The sources of our motivation, all the way from external to internal. And we spoke about it. We spoke about money. We spoke about, our family. Many of you have family motivations, whether it's, to get out of a certain financial circumstance and situation, to get out of a neighborhood in which we live, whatever those things may be that are driving you toward what it is you're looking to do. Those are all sources of motivation. And so just to kind of remind you to kind of take a look again at what this looks like. This is also in that classroom. It's in there so you can have a copy of this and kind of see this. When we're talking about making and setting goals, one of the things that we have to be really mindful about is understanding that the things that motivate us are ultimately the things that will allow us in the midst of not feeling like we want to do it, not maybe as motivated as we should, but those values, those are the things that are going to actually push you forward. And so I really want to I'm going to like do a speed walk through the goal setting sheet that will show up for you. But I want to just kind of give you some highlights around this, and so that way you kind of get a feel or an understanding of what I'm chatting about. So, if for an example, our step one is to define our goal, and if your goal, for an example, is to I don't know, many of you all would say pretty much around the same thing, unfortunately. But really, what I want us to be thinking about is how can I be a second contract player in the National Football League. You see, that's a different kind of goal. There's some different things you got to do to make that happen. So some of us might just say, I want to get on a team. Awesome. And maybe you do, and your goal will be achieved. But ultimately, what you really want is you really want to be able to say that I was able to get 2 contracts in the National Football League. If you're able to get 2 contracts in the National Football League, then you'll have a lifetime of benefits, and that's pension and healthcare and some of these other wonderful things that realistically are really what you're going for. So sometimes our goals are a little short-sighted. I just want to get here. I just want to get there. The big goals, the dreaming goals, those are the things that we set out for ourselves. We put that on our mirror, and that's out there for us. And so we now have that goal. Now we have to start asking ourselves, well, what are the smaller steps, the pieces that we need to do in order to make that big goal a reality? And the only way that we can do that is really understanding the goal setting process. And so I'm just going to kind of run through that process with you today. And then I'm going to hammer in on a couple of things. Okay. So just kind of if you have a notebook or if you're tracking this on your phone, you could write these out or down or whatever. This will also be in the Google Classroom, but that's no excuse not to engage with it right now too. So the first thing in any goal setting conversation is defining what your goal is. We'll break it down. So defining what your goal. If we do that, then we need to figure out, well, where are we right now? That's step 2. This seems like a really easy step, but this is a real honest step. This is actually uh, people come to me for help right here. They realize where they are, they don't like it, and they want to move from where they are so that they can try to actually achieve the goal that they decided that they want to go after. Okay, so you need to know where you are right now. If you want to, for the speed guys in the room, and you want to run a 4:39:40, a 4:38:40, electric time, and you're running a 4:05. Well, you're right now at a 4:05. And there's some things you're going to really need to do over the next course of 6 to 8 weeks to see if you can reach that particular smaller goal. So just kind of keep that in mind. We have to be honest with ourselves of where we are right now. Once we do that, once we're self-aware of this, then we actually have the ability and the capability to move beyond where we're trying to go. So that's step 2. Step 3 is identifying the priority areas. So in your life, in my life, there are certain priorities that are really, really important, that these are like our values. And so in this particular model, if you will, it's set up to kind of give you this vision of 4 areas, 4 priority areas. And this is step 3. We would be identifying these particular areas that we need to win in order to accomplish the big goal. So this is kind of just an example of this. This for this particular lady in this picture, she wants to get her bachelor's degree in 2 years, and so we got to start figuring out how she's going to do it. And these are just 4 priority areas that she's chosen. Working with her coaching resources, managing self-care, time management. Everybody should almost have that as a priority area. And the mental approach, like what do I need to do mentally to prepare myself to make sure that I'm accomplishing what I'm trying to accomplish. So that's step 3. First step is defining what our goal is. Second step is knowing where you are, your true north, where you really are right now. Third step, identifying your priority areas. The fourth step is actually pretty interesting. Um, it's basically making a plan for your improvement. So ultimately, what we're going to do, I'm going to come back to that, is we're going to show you how to take those 4 priority areas and really start to define what you need to do to accomplish those areas. For most people, when they start goal setting, this is where they actually start and end. They don't really define the goal the right way. They don't really truly know where they are. They're not identifying the priority areas. They just begin writing small goals to accomplish in their mind their big goal. And so this is very important that there's a process before and then a process after. Many of you have heard this acronym SMART goals. We use that at test. They're specific, they're measurable, action focused is what I use. They're realistic and they're time bound. So again, I want you to be thinking it through that lens, but at the end of the day, is we're asking you your own time to be thinking about, well, my pro day is March 22nd. My pro day is April 3rd. My pro day is so on and so forth. The combines are this date. The draft is so and so. So just kind of really start figuring out and thinking through these dates. They're really important, so that way we can have a process around what they are. And so this is really what it really would look like and in your goal setting process. Okay, just to kind of, I'm just like I said, I'm just gonna all the way through so that you can kind of see where we're headed. But this is an idea behind what we're talking about. So you would have these priority areas. When you have the priority areas, there's certain things that you need to do, some actions that you need to accomplish that you have to make sure that you do in order to make sure that that priority area is covered. So this is what it would look like holistic, okay, in step 4. So in step 4, we're taking those priority areas and then we're actually writing smart statements to accomplish a priority area. Anybody have any questions thus far? I'm kind of speeding through this, but for a purpose. Okay, that's step 4. Okay, step 5 is setting and pursuing short-term goals. Okay, this is kind of the daily things that we're going to be doing. Literally, daily things. I'm going to come back to this step because I want to make sure that this is the step for right now that you guys know how to do, that you're doing it, and then give you some tips on how to make sure that you do it better. So that's step 5. Step 6 is deciding. Actually call this the accountability step, where you are aligning, with people which are in that room, uh, with people that are supporting you, that are cheering for you, people that can help you stay connected and give you a level of accountability. So this is committing yourself completely to your goal. You do that by sharing your goal, having some accountability, an accountability person or partner or people, so that way you're actually somebody's asking you about what you're doing. And then step 7 is about monitoring and evaluating your progress. So you have to obviously be tracking what you're doing, looking at what you're accomplishing, so that you can see where you are during the process while you're out there trying to accomplish the priorities that you have set for yourself. Okay, I'm going to go back to step 5, um, setting and pursuing short-term goals. Okay, so I'm going to need some participation uh, for this step. Everybody tracking? Okay. Um, I need somebody to share with me their bench press goal number.
17 plus.
How many?
17 plus.
17 plus.
Yeah.
Okay. What position do you play?
Safety.
Okay. What has been the most that you've been able to do thus far?
So far it's 12.
Okay. So we gotta get to quote unquote 5 more. Okay. So listen, this is So remember, like I call it. Thank you for sharing too. So your big goal is to have 2 years in the two contracts in the league. That's the big goal. And then we want to be able, like a priority area is literally time at test. Like literally, that's like your big goal is that big goal, and priority area is your time at test. Literally, that's one little area that we have to make sure that we set appropriate goals to accomplish our time there. So, in order for you to accomplish seven, look, I'm a little aggressive. So, in order for you to accomplish 18 reps of 225 on the bench press, here is a way in which we would go about doing this. So, hopefully, everybody's tracking because whatever their number is, this is the way that we go about making this happen. Okay. So, every day before you leave test, you need to lift the bar 18 times. Now, listen, I didn't ask you to put 225 on the bar because you can't do that yet. But what you have to do is maybe put 25s, 35s, 45 plates on there or whatever, some weight, whatever, a little bit. But really what you're trying to accomplish is before you leave, you're going to accomplish the goal. You're going to go lift the bar 18 times. Now, I want you to hear the language that I'm using. Uh, your goal is to lift the bar 18 times. Now, for pro day or combine or wherever you're headed, that's going to be your goal. The person is just going to be putting 225 pounds on there, and your goal is to lift that bar 18 times. What we know about our brains and how our brains operate is if we can actually create a picture for what it needs to do, then it has a better opportunity or a better chance of accomplishing it. So every day from now until you're going to go and lift the bar 18 times. Now, here's a little bit of a trick that you can use for yourself. When you do this, you really want to begin starting with the number 18. So you're going to say 18, 17, 16, sending your count, so on and so forth until you get to 1. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret that you'll need to know because you're an athlete, everybody in the room, is that athletes do not like to be 18th place. You don't want to be 35th place. You don't want to be 42nd place. Every one of you in the room is looking to become number 1. That's just the way that we're born. That's how we're bred. We're trying to be the winner, the number 1 guy, the best person. And as an athlete, you have that inner desire to do so. And oftentimes, when we do specific things like taking tests, doing this bench press, if we're not counting backwards, we kind of lose a little bit of our momentum. It's kind of like if you really think about this, man, I'm going from 1 to 18, and we lose a little bit of motivation in that. Versus specifically when we're trying to max something, you might as well already start with the number that you're trying to accomplish, 18, 32, 27, whatever that is, and begin this process of counting backwards from it. It allows you an opportunity, specifically as an athlete, to get to number 1. And it's a lot easier for our minds to actually manage 1, 2, 3 single numbers. It just changes how we see it. Like, okay, I'm on 2. Oh, two is nothing. I got 2. 1, man, I only got 1. 1 is nothing. But if that was a reverse or a flip, what we currently are doing, we're like 17. God, I ain't never done 17. That's a different feeling. We've always done 2, 3, 5, 6, whatever those smaller numbers. If we're working our way from the top number down to the small number, that's just a little mental trick. Have at it, practice it, try it out. Tell me if it works for you. I'm pretty confident that it would. If any of y'all are still in school taking a test, I would go to the back of the test, start there, work our way towards the front. Towards the front. Number one, it's a mental trick, if you will, but it's really mental agility. It's something that as athletes specifically, it gives us a lot of motivation and gives us a lot of dopamine actually, because we're like working towards our goal, which is really number one in everything that we do. So it's excellence. So I've never seen anybody, buy one of those hand puppets and it says 18 on it. The finger, that thing, that foam finger, it's always got number one. You're the one. So it's the process. It's how our minds work. We could utilize that and leverage it for lifting specifically, especially the bench press. Works when working for years. It's a good little tip. You can use it. You can do that because you could be counting ultimately, out loud, specifically a test, and you could be counting in a little bit out loud when you're testing because somebody else is going to be counting your reps for you. So this is just a nice little tip. So tracking 18 for you bench press. You're going to put some weight on a bar, very little. I really, almost if you put if you just care about what it looks like, just throw 135 on there and just hit that up 18 times. But the key to this process is to making sure that technically your technique is very sound. Okay, super important. Okay, super important. It gives you an opportunity to reach your goal, opportunity to make sure that you are working on the techniques that they're teaching you, where the bar goes on your chest and all the arcing and arching and all that stuff. So make sure that we do that. You got me a gift? I see those shoes for me. I'll pick those up from you next week. I appreciate that. Thank you. Um, he's like, what? So that's the bench press. Okay, everybody tracking that? Okay. Uh, so there's another thing that we like to run and do. Give me another something, whatever one. Somebody want to give me a 40 or L or cone or whatever.
4-5.
Say it one more time.
4-5.
4-5 40,
Yeah.
like 4-5 flat or like 4-5 2.
A 4-5 flat.
Okay.
Oh, line.
Okay. Okay. So here we go. Many I'll give it to you 4 or 5. I'll use that one. That'll be sweet. So okay, everybody in there, I would say, has a cell phone. I'm pretty confident. And everybody in their phone has probably like if you look at your phone, your I don't know the wallpaper on your phone is I would create a wallpaper on your phone with the numbers either 04.50 or 4.50. If you want to get real fancy, um, this might be a little wild because everybody had the same kind of code, but you could do this. I'll say it out loud. Um, you can with your login thing, the thing that you do into your phone, 0450, whatever. What we have to do is we have to see the number. We have to actually know what the number is. We have to see that number as we can. We're committing ourselves to this number. So I would write that number down. I would look at it. I would see it. It would be a thing. Um, now this is what we would need to do. So again, this requires a little extra work, but remember our big goal is to have 2 contracts in the National Football League. So I really don't care if you tell me you don't have time for this, but if that's your dream, that's what your dream should be. So what I would suggest to you, and we can walk through this, is You should set your timer on your phone at some point and see how fast 4.5 seconds really is. And then you also know how to set your phone's stopwatch to 4.5 and let it, count down, if you will. And so what I would be doing is just closing my like pressing go, closing my eyes, running my 40, and then the timer goes off. I would do that minimally 10 times a day before I go to sleep. When I wake up, I would set my timer or stopwatch, let it descend, close my eyes, go through my 40 routine. Hopefully, what we're doing for the most part is the start is so crucial. So that in your mind has to be something that you're rehearsing over and over and over again. If you really want to take time off, again, you're going to have to run that number many times over. And you're going to run that number literally by using imagery. We're going to set the timer, close our eyes, press go, let it descend, run through your 40s, big arms, load at the start, all of the things, staying, all the stuff, staying low for the first 10 yards, all of that stuff. We got to do it in our mind over and over and over and over again. The only way we can accomplish that and set a timer for it is we're building up what it's supposed to be and how quickly I'm supposed to get to it. I would suggest, or at least I would share, that maybe your first week of doing this, it's actually probably the best time because next week we got auto coming back. So I would definitely start this today, if you will. What you might find is that you are like 3 steps into your run and the time goes. But the key is over time, you'll be able to actually run this race in your brain time that you have decided that you're going to accomplish for your 40. Is there any questions about that? Okay. Does anybody think that this does not work? If so, be honest, because I will provide you with some scientific research, articles, some test me, and maybe what could you lose? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Okay. So I'm just giving you definitely some tips for the trade here. Super important. That same philosophy of what I just shared with you for the 40 is for any timed events. So the L drill, cone, those are all the same concepts. We set the timer, we close our eyes, we run it over and over again. Eyes closed, set the timer, run it. So it seems tedious, but it's not. It will only literally take, you're running the 44.5 seconds, and you did this 10 times, that's only 40 seconds of your day. I really want to kind of break that down one more time, like, because people will act like I'm tripping. So we do this, set it up. If we only did this one time for 10 times, maybe it's a minute of my day. 1 minute of your day, but it's gonna make such a huge impact. So think about spending 3 minutes with this, 5 minutes with this. Doing each of the drills, and saying I'm gonna set up 15 minutes to do a little bit of mental rehearsal, some imagery. I mean, like, come on. This is what I'm talking about. So I know a lot of downtime happens. We chitter and we chatter and we hang and we do, but I'm just trying to have you maximize your opportunities so that you can achieve that goal of having those 2 contracts in the league. It's a big deal. Okay, I'm not asking you to, spend hours and hours and hours making this happen. Even the even the even the bench press might really only take, I don't know, to be honest, 3 4 minutes maybe tops, real time. Not, I'm just trying to give it to you so that you can hear it and see it. What I'm asking of you to do, how important it is, but how little of time commitment you're putting to it. But it'll pay, like, it has huge dividends. It's like amazing payoff. But it's so quick that you wouldn't even have hit a heart on your Instagram. Like, oh, that's cool, heart, heart. I've already ran my 40. That's what I'm saying. That kind of thing. We're just committing some time to this. It's going to really help you guys out, specifically now that you have all of the technical pieces to run, to jump, to lift. You have that information now. Like, what they're asking of you to do. So now we're trying to perfect it, trying to get it better. We're trying to do different things over the course of time, a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit smoother. This is how you will do it. This week here is the week in which we make the turn, if you will. Okay. This is why I wanted to stay on this, um, right here, the pursuing the short term goals, because this ultimately is what you're writing every day. Like, I'm doing this every day. This is what I'm doing today. This is what I'm doing today. You're literally writing these out, whether you're going to put them on a mirror with an expo marker, whether you're going to put them in your phone, whether you're going to have a piece of paper, whether you're going to set reminders that are going to remind you at whatever the time is that you need to be doing these things. But I would simply be setting aside 20 minutes or so of my day, 15 minutes of my day to do these mental rehearsals. You can title it two contracts. I don't know what, but something. So we got to start committing ourselves to these things. Anybody have any questions thus far? No questions?
If suppose like on bench press, right? You
Yeah.
start you so like suppose like your goal is six, right? And you count down five, four, three, two, one, and then suppose you have more left in you, then what do you do? Just don't count.
You're gonna keep on going, right? Naturally, it'll be so natural. You're just gonna kind of keep on making it happen. It's actually really interesting because it's like it's the what happens with our brain. Literally, is what we say at that moment is like, man, I feel really good right now. I can continue to do a few. I can do one more. It's usually what ends up happening in our brain. It's usually something we say to ourselves. I can do two more. But again, those are very manageable numbers versus, man, I made it to 18. Man, I can do 20. Ooh, I ain't never even seen that number. I don't know what that number is. It's a different mentality. It really does change and shift how we think about it. So we just don't do it that often. But if you try it out, you'll be surprised at what you see, what you feel, what you're able to accomplish. Good question.
Um, how do you handle how do you handle once your numbers start to go down? You start seeing the doctor
Do me a solid and slide over so I can hear slash see. What's up?
So what do you do when you see your numbers start to go down and you start up training?
Say it one more time.
What do you do when your numbers start to go down as you train? Like you see, like you don't consistently go up, like you just go up and down, up and down.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're saying, like, so ultimately, like, if your numbers begin to actually They begin to go down or up, whichever way I get it. And so now we have to reevaluate what our goals are, like change, shift the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that what we want?
No, but like, because you have a goal, right? You're trying to get to that goal, and then instead of going the right direction, towards that goal, you see like a digress in what your numbers are.
Yes, yes, yes. So then, great question. So if you have a goal, this is like the I call it the Einstein problem. You can stay there, like, but you can answer this question actually. How many times do you think it took for the light bulb to be made? Like he just sat down and made it on the first go. It's like you right. You see what I'm saying? So there's like I try it out. It's time 933, and man, this didn't do anything. And even when I did it times seven was better than this time. And then we just going to keep on making sure that technique wise, that we're doing everything that we need to do. Usually it's in that. And then we just kind of keep processing and working our way towards that. And once we actually, or if we actually do that, then what you will find is I call it the breakthrough. You'll be able to like, oh wow, because digression is part of the process. Whether you were tired, fatigued, muscle exhaustion, um, that's okay. You should almost, I think, right about now, and maybe a hair bit next week, feel that digression happening with what you're current. I mean, the mode of what you're doing, things are being asked of you to do some things differently. So that would be very normal. Just remember what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you kind of break you down and then it's like a slow process all the way to pro day or all the way to combine and then we repeat. So it's kind of that's why I said earlier we got to start looking at our dates. Like when are we really trying to do this? When are you really trying to bench press 27 times? Oh man, that's not until like March 23rd. I'm already at like 22. You're trying to tell me I can't in the next 2 months add 5? Yeah, I can do that. You see what I'm saying? But once we have to start figuring out like, well, when are the dates? So we can actually have a better understanding of really where we're headed, where we're going, step 2, where we are right now. So that way we know where we're going. If we do that, it'll be amazing. Now is the time to kind of like look ahead so we have a date, we know what we're doing, how we're going to get there, and then just making sure our progress is matching that. Okay? Thank you. Great question. We have about 5 more minutes. Anybody have any questions about anything from weeks 1, 2, 3-ish, 1, 2, 0, week 40? How many paychecks do you get when you play in the National Football League? Anybody know that? How many?
36.
What?
It used to be one a week, but then they changed it now.
Oh, so
I think they changed it.
it's interesting how we don't know, right? That's important. I'm just asking. These are things that are important to people. They're motivated by that check. They need to know how many of them checks they're getting. So might want to ask how many paychecks there are.
How many they get?
You get a paycheck for every week that you perform. You include preseason game and how many regular season weeks there are. When you get into the playoffs, you get playoff game check week for that week, and then the next week, and so on and so forth. You keep on going. So if there's 52 weeks, you play about 22 weeks ish, if you will. So that's about what you get, between 21 and 22 weeks worth of checks. So we got to do a thing called money management, right? That doesn't mean that you're getting paid $1.3 million over the course of 52 weeks. You're actually getting all of that Uncle Sam money um, in 20-ish weeks of time. Crazy details, important. Okay.
They just changed it. It says 36 weeks.
Okay. Okay. So for the 17 games,
Yeah.
there you go. So how many weeks are left in the year then?
16.
Yep. So we gotta do a little money math. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So that's important information, right? Then you can start asking real fancy questions about, well, how do I actually get those checks? Do I have to dress? Do I just be on the 53-man roster? How much does people get paid on the practice squad? I don't know all those details anymore. I used to, but those are things that are worth being able to learn and understand as you're kind of walking your way closer towards your goal. Okay. So hopefully, if I haven't met you, I will officially meet you next week. If anybody has any questions in the in between, you all know how to get in contact with me, whether it's through a text or even on that Google Classroom. I think you can send a message or whatever. Again, I appreciate your time, and I know that you all are committed to achieving those, getting those now, you know, those checks, 2 contracts worth of checks. Okay, where are you guys supposed to go today, or if you will, after this?
Yoga.
Yoga. There it is. That's important. You gotta get flexible. Mr. Gudmanson, anything that you have that you need answer or question to?
As far as like drawing up their expectations in the past, what their accomplishments are during their time here. That's it. Like having a clear path, because I know the mental aspect is a little bit tougher for guys fresh coming out of college. They don't know how to do it. They were just good. They get it done. And they do it. To be able to visualize more, to be able to have numbers and be able to execute on that. That's something that I know you bring to this program, and just continue to do that, because it's always been overlooked. In past years, as far as not being a huge component. We always have done it, but other facilities, other schools might not have. So knowing our past and what we've done, what we're highlighting, and then how do we make this component and make them just as efficient upstairs as they are physically. That's kind of what we talk about all the time, Doc.
Yeah. So I mean, today, was really that day for them to really understand that they need to spend basically 15 minutes is really all I'm asking, around doing some mental imagery, mental rehearsal on the bench press, the L drill, their 40, and really I just taught them how to do that today. mentally, if you will, through those mental rehearsals. And so I would encourage someone to share that with you specifically, or you can ask, any one of them independently or individually of how they're going to go about accomplishing that. Because the key is right now we need to get, as many 4 or 5 reps as we can. So we might as well get 100, 200. So that way, when we go run them, it's already done. I've done this 200 times. It's not a big deal. Oh, I actually ran 4.45. How about that? Personal best. So that's really, really important. And so I think once they start to understand that, I need you to get as many reps as you can with the new things that you're learning. And the only way to do that is through mental rehearsal. No load, no stress, but it gives you the exact same. Neurons are firing the same. Your brain is actually operating the same as if you were actually doing it. So just let's keep that process rocking and rolling, and I think we're going to keep on making it happen. And I share with them. I'll see you all next week too. So we'll kind of hit these things again.
So just so you know the schedule, Doc, if you have any visualization techniques or anything after, they have like the schedule when they're done with you, they have 15 minutes break until yoga starts, and that's for everybody. So if you had any visualization techniques or anything to do after your session, you get off, they can do it right in here before they hit yoga, or give them their homework, and they can choose to do or not to do those techniques. So I just wanted to let you aware of kind of where their schedule is and how much time they have in between.
Yeah, they got plenty of time. They just like to waste it. That's cool. They already know. That's the people that don't want to get those two game salary. You know what I'm saying? They don't want those 2 contracts. But I know nobody in there is motivated by money, so yeah, it's all good. But yes, I know I'm aware they have time to implement. I think once they start to understand, like you're really only doing it for like 3, 4, 5 minutes. We gotta maximize what we have when we have it. Okay. So I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Doc.
All right, I'll see you officially next week.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, Doc, thanks.
Peace.
So 12 is yoga, so you have a little bit of time. The new guys.